I just had to pick up, figure out what am I doing? And I was doing things wrong for a long time. My first press interview was at 7 a.m. on the radio. My last one was at 11 p.m. On CNN in America live. It's been on BBC, ITV, in the news all over, the newspaper. This must be so good for business. We created this exercise so that you could understand actually the reasons people are buying from you. Bing! You've reached your daily limit. Stop eating.
If you're looking to be inspired, motivated and educated by the business journeys and lessons learnt of Leeds business owners, then this is the podcast for you. And I'm your host, Phil Fraser. Before we start, I have one simple request. Please hit the follow or subscribe button on the app you're listening on. There are lots of reasons why people start or join businesses. Today's guest, Claire Daniels, has one that is both tragic and unique. Listen how she tells us how she joined and then bought Trio Media, the problems that come with taking over an existing business, and the ups and downs of huge international PR coverage. Plus, there's also a brilliant how-to that you can apply to your business. On today's Leeds Business Podcast, I'm delighted to have with me Claire Daniels, CEO of Trio Media. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
I'm good. Now, give us your elevator pitch as to what Trio Media does.
We're a web and performance marketing agency based in Leeds, which basically means that we design and build websites, and then we help people with driving traffic to them through search engine optimization, paid search ads, paid social ads, etc. And all of that is underpinned. How we position ourselves is your strategic marketing partner. So we're really looking for a partnership with the businesses we work with, thinking beyond just delivering from A to B and actually strategically supporting the business in what it is that they're trying to achieve.
Okay. Now, I've spoken to lots of business owners and there are lots of reasons why they start their own business. Although you didn't start Trio, this journey started with a sort of sliding doors moment, didn't it? Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I always did want to have my own business and actually had dreams and ambitions of having a marketing agency, but then had kind of put that to one side after a successful career in-house in client marketing roles, and thought, I'm quite happy working my way up the career ladder this way. And I was in quite a senior marketing role in a tech business in Leeds. And then 8 years ago, my brother passed away. At the same time, Trio Media actually was being founded by other people, which I can get into. But yeah, my brother passed away. And at that time, it took all ambition away. I wasn't really passionate about my job anymore. And I decided to quit and leave my job. I had nothing to go to at the time, but I just knew that I needed some time out of work. Whilst I took that time out, I actually volunteered to start helping at Trio because it was someone that I knew that had set up the business. I said, look, can my expertise be used in any way to help you get it going? And then essentially, long story short, we can get into it if you want to, but I ended up getting more and more involved in the business and became a director after kind of a year or so, and then bought out the founders. So in 2020, I took on the business as my own. So that was a period between 2018 and 2020. So my brother passed away in 2017. I'd quit my job by 2018, got involved in the business. 2019, took on half the shares, and 2020 became the sole owner.
Okay. And that's the end of the podcast. There you go. There's the whole story. Okay. Let's dig into a couple of bits of that. Obviously, your brother passing away is a terrible, terrible thing. How long did it take you from sort of saying, right, I'm out of here, to going, right, okay, I've got to, I can't just do this for forever. What was that timeline between those two things?
Well, the interesting thing was, even in the process of leaving my previous employment, I was on a 3-month notice period. I was then like, I'm going to set up my own business. And I actually had plans of setting up a totally different business. I'm really passionate about the environment and my idea was I was going to set up an environmental consultancy. It was going to be called the Planet A project, because everyone says there is no Planet B. So I was like, right, well, Planet A protection. And it was kind of important to me because even though I was definitely struggling mentally, and people I worked with knew that, they'd seen what I'd been through, I was very ambitious. I'd been very influential within that business, and I felt I had to leave going on to do something, like having that thing that I was going to do. But what I soon realized is, when you're in quite a dark place in your life, quitting your job to try start a business on your own in an area you don't have any expertise in and start totally from scratch might not be the best thing to do. So I think it took me a few months to figure that out. I was really trying to do it. I was building my own website. I was doing all the stuff I was good at doing. I could get all the marketing going, but then I was thinking, how am I going to turn this into a business? My faith in that started faltering. And so I'd offered up, do you need any help, to the trio owners at the time, and they did. So I'd started working for them on kind of a contractor basis, a couple of days a week, and even just getting into that meant I started moving away from this Planet A project piece, because I thought, actually I don't know how feasible that is. But having some time, I was very fortunate. I'm an open book, so I'm happy to say this, because I think for a lot of people, if anyone talks about taking time out of work, it can be like, well, how can you afford that? How can you do that? So I do want to mention it, because I don't want to set any unrealistic expectations that you can just take time and, there's just magic money available. The catalyst to the reason I quit my job is I actually got a call that I was the beneficiary of my brother's life insurance policy, which I didn't know that I was. And I just got this call out of the blue. So that for me was like, right, this means something. It means I can take some time. I can invest this into something else. So that was really the catalyst for doing it. So I was able to be quite comfortable. So even when I was working a few days at Trio, it wasn't desperate to do more at that time. But I think I started getting my passion back for it. I'd maybe had about 6 months off by the time I was getting more and more involved and thinking, I'm quite intrigued about what I could do here and how I could make a difference to this business.
Okay. You mentioned you knew the people who owned Trio. Go on, tell us really how you know the people who own Trio.
Yeah, so it's my husband's sister is one of the original founders, so her and her friends. So obviously I told the whistle stop version of get coming in, buying them out. Obviously with family involved, it was not that straightforward. But she was at a point in her life where actually she wanted to have children, and running the business wasn't really a suitable fit for her. I had kind of supported during the period of her having them. And, I think we both realised that then we weren't compatible working together and where we could see the business going. And so, it was a very difficult period, but I did have to approach her and say, look, I don't think we can work together anymore. I would like to put a proposition to you where I buy you out, but I'm also open to it if you want me to leave. But obviously I was probably in the better position to do that, and it was agreed, and obviously it was difficult at the time, but everything is all good now. So that's now just a phase in the past we don't talk about.
Okay, so you worked with your sister-in-law. I mean, I worked with my wife, and I know lots of people have worked with their kids and husbands and wife teams and all that sort of thing. What was it like working with a sister-in-law? Because that's like what sort of one step removed, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, my husband never wanted us to do it, and he was probably right. But my view is it was the right thing for both of us at the time. She needed me and I needed her. Like, I was in a bit of a vulnerable state, needed something to get into, and she was. And so at that time, it was the right decision for both of us. We're absolute chalk and cheese. In some ways in business, obviously that can work really well because you can complement each other. But it also means that there can be a lot of conflict, which is the thing that, maybe if you're in business with someone who you didn't have that personal relationship with, you might have been able to carry on like that for longer. Whereas I think because there was a relationship to protect, for me, it felt important to nip it in the bud very quickly and be like, let's not let anything get to a place we can't recover from. If we don't think that we can work together anymore, then let's not. And there was actually only a short amount of time that we were actually working together, because I was there while she was on maternity leave. So those times when we were together, we were then like, maybe this isn't the right fit. Now we've both got through those stages in our lives.
So who made the first move to say, look, this isn't working? Was it you saying, I'll buy you out? Was she saying, I want you out? And then what did the process look like to buy into the business?
So a very unique one, probably. So my sister-in-law was working with a kind of life coach at the time, and she'd asked me to speak to that person to see if they could facilitate us working things out. And what I said to this person is, look, I don't think we can work together. And my ideal would be I buy Catherine out. And that person said, well, I will facilitate that conversation because I think that would work best for you both. So we had that conversation facilitated. I said, look, this is where I'm at. Don't think it's working. I am happy to walk away, but my proposition is that I buy you out. And it happened very quickly from then, because I think once you put your cards on the table, you can't pick them back up again. And I think she realised that was probably the right thing to do. So I spoke to our accountants in terms of getting a kind of valuation. It didn't go through the same formal process that if I was acquiring another business today that it would have done. I got a rough estimation from the accountants to be able to just make an offer. And again, being transparent money wise, yes, I had this life insurance money, but my husband and I also renovated properties, and we just had a property sale go through. So I had to consult with him. Are you happy using this money to put into the business to do it, which he agreed to. So I made her an offer, which she accepted. And then I did just get a solicitor to obviously write everything up with regards to the share allocation and moving things over. And it probably was done within 4 weeks from having the conversation to it's all sorted and she's not part of the business anymore.
Wow. That is really, really quick. So what does the first day look like when you're now the boss and she's out? How did the team react to that?
To be honest, some of them were like, yeah, we thought that was coming, because they had a lot of people I had been managing without her there, because again, she'd been off. So it was very quick from her coming back to then these conversations happening and so on. And they were like, we could tell it kind of wasn't gelling. And people just took it in their stride, as I think you do. So there wasn't too much surprise. People just accepted it and continued. And for me, it very much was continuing as normal. The only thing was, and I always use this analogy, it's a bit like you get put in charge of a train that's already running and you've got to figure out the controls before the next stop, so there was a lot of things that I just had to pick up, figure out what am I doing. And I was doing things wrong for a long time. It wasn't until the accountants were like, you've not reconciled any payments in months, what's going on? I'm like, I didn't know I needed to do that. So yeah, there was a lot to learn whilst the wheels were in motion. And then also, once it was my own business, truly, it was then about how might I want to undo some things that have been done and redo them a different way. And I'd say, some of that we're still doing today. Like, this was 5 years ago. And I was just saying to a friend earlier, it's not like I laid the perfect foundations that I wanted for a business and then I started it. Like, it was already started, and you kind of do things the way they're being done, and then you're just tweaking and fixing so that it's not too disruptive. So there's always work to be done on kind of improving things from the way they previously were done. But I'm sure that's the same in any business, and that will continue forever anyway.
Yeah. It is slightly different when you take, like you say, it's a very good analogy. So if somebody else was doing it, what would you advise them to do? Like, say, first 90 days when you take over internally, what would you advise? And also, probably more importantly, which bits did you get wrong and which bits did you get right?
Well, the first thing in terms of what I would advise, go through and look at everyone that you're paying. So you know who you're probably going to need to pay again. knowing where that money's coming from, who's paying you, who are you paying, is a big one, and just understanding that. Finance has always been part of the business though that I don't enjoy. It's not where my brain naturally goes. So that was definitely the hardest to get my head round. But, I've got great accountants and now also work with a fractional CFO who supports the business in helping understand this better. But yeah, and that's the key. Is there money coming in to continue paying what you're meant to be paying? And even things like getting my head round, I would just be told, oh, by the way, you now owe X amount in tax. And then a few months later, I got told it again. I didn't know we paid our tax quarterly. Like, I didn't know. And I'm like, will someone tell me when these are going to stop? Like, what's going on? So just that understanding, and that is what I would say to anyone, is get that understanding as early as you can. Get people around you, if you don't understand it, that they do. I should have, if I'd known the complexities of the accounting and finance, I would have gone to the accountants a lot sooner and be like, can you sit me down and talk me through all of this? Whereas I probably just didn't even know. And it's that whole, you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't have the visibility of what I was missing out on until things just kind of landed at my feet. So I think being more proactive in knocking on doors to be like, can you tell me what this is? Or even, like I say, with regards to who are you paying? Go to those suppliers. What do you do for us? Can you explain that? And why do I pay you this? And how often do I pay you? And, whatever it may be. Just getting a really clear hold on it. Like, the people and the work was fine for me. It was more like the cogs and the operations of the business that were the harder thing to kind of stop and get my head around when you are trying to keep people going and keep delivering work. And we're also really fortunate that we had a lot of clients who we still work with today from that time, and who stuck with us during that period, because we did keep all those things going really smoothly. But yeah, I was probably like a swan in the background, pedaling, trying to figure everything out whilst keeping everything running smoothly and looking like it was all going well.
Okay, now I want to ask you about the 4-day week, but before we do, I need to talk to our listeners and viewers about the Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal. The Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal has two sides to it. My side of it is I bring you every week inspirational, motivational, and fascinating business leaders like Claire, totally free of charge. You, listener and viewer, have one thing to do, and that is to recommend this podcast to one other person that you feel will get a benefit from it. That's the Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal. Sound like a fair deal, Claire?
Does to me.
Okay. Now, you got an inordinately huge amount of PR and coverage when you launched a 4-day week for your business. And I don't want to talk about the 4-day week. What were the upsides and the downsides of so much press coverage when it happened?
Upsides were, we didn't do anything to get that coverage. It landed at our feet. We weren't working with a PR agency. It all just happened organically. So obviously the free coverage was amazing. Getting our name out there in front of so many people nationwide. The downside though, a lot of people used to go, oh my God, you've been everywhere. You've been on BBC, ITV, you're in the news all over, you're in every newspaper. This must be so good for business. And I was like, but I'm not talking about what we do. I'm talking about the 4-day week. So it doesn't necessarily translate into new business because we've been in the media. So I think that was a big common misconception, that all that coverage must just equal new business, which it didn't. And one of the downsides was just I was run ragged. I just say yes to everything. I mean, that was definitely my motto. And I think it's what got us so much coverage, because you definitely have to have a good, what's the word, but like reputation with, the people in the press, that they go, yeah, she responds quickly, she's good, she talks well in the media. So I just said yes to everything. But, one day, a particular day when like the results of the 4-day week came out, my first press interview was at 7 a.m. on the radio. My last one was at 11 p.m. On CNN in America live. So yeah, it's tiring at times doing that.
Okay. Now, you're not doing it anymore.
No.
Why is that?
The main reason we're not doing it, just to be frank, is last year we went through a difficult period where we hired based on projected growth that didn't come, and we had to go through a period of redundancies. I know a lot of small businesses struggled last year, and it just didn't feel the right time to keep paying people for time that they weren't working, which is the premise of the 4-day week, is you get full pay but for less time. And everyone had been there and seen what we'd gone through, and I needed to say to the team, look, I need you to help by kind of picking back up those hours. And to be honest, everyone was really good about it, and I didn't really receive any complaints. So I was a really big advocate of it, and I still am, but I also think it takes a lot of work, and it got to a point where we couldn't work at it anymore because we needed to concentrate on the fundamentals of the business a bit more.
Okay. That's very honest of you to say, when push comes to shove, I need you in the office every day. I can't let you do 4 out of 5. Did just on the 4-day week, did you find you got the same amount of sort of volume of work out of 4 days than you did out of 5? Did it work like that?
I would say yes, and that is the premise of it, is that you get the same amount of work done. I went into it expecting increased productivity, which I'm not sure that we got, so I think we delivered the same, but obviously we did get increased like employee satisfaction, and they were really pleased with it. The one thing I would say though is it wasn't necessarily a benefit that offered parity. Some people were bleeding into their 5th day and others weren't. And therefore there was a bit of that resentment of, oh, this person's skipping off, they're getting their time and I'm not. And so when we changed back to a more traditional model, I did propose, look, there's a number of ways you can keep flexibility. You can do a 4.5 day, you can work 5 in 4, or you can just do 5. And everyone then had a choice of what would work best for them. So everyone does work full-time hours now, but people have the benefit that works for them of like, oh, I do longer days there, but I do get that shorter day there, or whatever it may be. And it feels a bit fairer across the board.
We've touched on you working for or with your sister-in-law.
Yes.
You've now got a very familiar new employee in the team, haven't you?
Yes. So even though my husband thought it was a terrible idea that I work with his sister, he doesn't think it's a terrible idea that he works for me. So my husband has recently joined the team, which I'm really happy about. I mean, from the early days of the business, I'd been saying to him, why don't you come work for us? I saw the potential in him, how good he is with people and with clients. But he preferred a much more practical job. And we were doing our property developing. He was doing a lot of work in the construction industry. But due to very bad knees and a bad Achilles, his advice from his doctors was that he shouldn't be on his feet all day. So I was like, right, that's it. You come into work for me. But we were both very pragmatic about it in terms of, let's see how it goes. If it doesn't work, we'll have set you up, we'll have trained you for a new type of job that you can go into. But if it does work, great. And, he's been with the company just a couple of months, but even so far, he's like, no, I really want to make this work. I'm so proud of you. And it's even more amazing being in it and seeing it. And I want to be part of it, which is really lovely. So far, so good.
Okay. And no problem bossing him around and he's taking orders and doing as he's told.
He knows who the boss is.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, every week we ask our guests to give us a how-to. So, Claire, tell us what you're going to teach us how to do and teach us how to do it.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to go through an exercise that we do with all our new clients to help understand their business on a bit of a deeper level. And so this would be suitable for any organisation, for anyone listening, no matter where you are in your journey, to help you understand your customers better and therefore deliver a better marketing message and refine your proposition. So it's called the Top 20 Reasons exercise. And this is something we've created because of my aversion to the term USP. Because the problem is there's not much you left anymore, in my opinion. You know, people will tell you things and you go, yeah, but that and that competitor all do the same thing or are saying very similar. And my most used phrase is there's a difference between what you want to say and what people want to hear. And businesses can get very used to this outward projection message of all the great things they want to say about themselves, you know, such as how many awards they've won or how long they've been in business or whatever else. And actually, it's a completely different message that is getting through to the people that buy off them. You know, they're buying off them for totally different reasons. And so that's why we created this exercise, is so that you could understand actually the reasons people are buying from you and flip your messaging into something that resonates a lot more and helps you win more new business. So I'll talk you through it, and you know, if anyone's listening, you want to write these down, I'll say them once, but then we'll cover them as we go. So the top 20 reasons exercise is we're going to cover 5 reasons people buy from you, 5 reasons they don't, 5 reasons people come back, and 5 reasons they don't. And they are different. So if I dive into it a little bit, so reasons people buy from you, this could be cost. It could be I've been influenced, you know, I've seen something and I align with what I've seen that's out there. I've been referred. I've got a good relationship with you. The perception of the brand is something I want to align myself to. You're the market leader in this space. You've got experience in my sector. Any of those things, that's what you're going to write down in here. So a lot of people have sometimes say, where do I get this information from? You should really be collecting this, you know, anytime you win a new deal is asking people, why did you choose us? And using that. But typically if someone doesn't have a record of it within a CRM, we would still then just speak to the salespeople or the account managers, because they do typically have a good understanding of what those reasons were. So we go through all of that. What are these reasons? Then what are the top 5 reasons people didn't buy? So we've been engaged with someone, we've been speaking to them, and they chose not to go with us. So again, is it the cost? Is it you are not speaking to the right decision maker? And it's worth saying, the reasons people choose not to buy from you could be something you don't agree with. So for us, when we did this exercise for ourselves, one of the things we noted down in the reasons people don't buy with regards to our SEO service is it takes too long to see results. Now, that is the nature of SEO. It does take a long time. But the reasons you do this is to go, well, is there a way that I could educate people better and make them understand? And, you know, you start refining your marketing message based on what appears here. Then when it comes to the reasons people come back, this is totally different to I originally chose you because of cost or, you know, perception or referral. Have I received great service? What's the aftercare? What's the relationship like? You know, are you now more bedded into my business because you offer other products that I can buy from you? You know, great relationship, whatever it may be. So what are those things that keep people coming back? And then the reasons they don't. So this is the reason someone has left you. Not that they didn't decide to work in the first place, but, you know, they've come and they've left. So actually, we didn't service them very well. There wasn't a great relationship. You know, a lot of people go, I never lose customers. But so even if it's well, they go bust or they get bought out or whatever it may be, it's good to have that understanding. And so once you have all this, you can totally curate your marketing message around something that is meaningful to the people buying from you. So once you know those top 5 reasons people buy, that should be your proposition. You know, that should be what is front and foremost in your proposals you're sending to people. It should be what's in your website. It should be covered on your social media, anything you put out, you know, instead of all those kind of self-fulfilling things you want to say about your business. It's instead, these are things that matter to people and these that are going to make them want to buy. And then that reason they don't is just as compelling, because you start going, how do we objection handle before we even get there? You know, so instead of finding out at that final hurdle why we didn't win the business, we know that's why we don't win business. So let's deal with it. A really good example here is I was doing this exercise with a tech company based in Ireland, but they service kind of worldwide. And they're a relatively small team, but it's two brothers who set it up. And one of the reasons people didn't buy from them was people think we're too small. Now, nobody said in the reasons that I do buy from you, it's great that you're a small family business. Yet in their proposal was a picture of them as little boys sat in a tree house telling the story about how the business came about and them as siblings and all this stuff. So I was like, that stops. From today, that stops, because this is the story you want to tell, but it is hindering you winning new business, because it's painting a picture of you being a small company, which you now have identified is why you're losing new business. So these are the kind of decisions you can make on the back of doing that work. And then likewise with the people who have worked with you and their reasons for coming back or not. It then looks into how you can shape your service. And again, lead with this in, your forthcoming marketing messaging, but also the way that you deal with clients and ensure that you can retain them. When you look at those reasons that you're losing, how do we retain the ones we've got? So we don't even have to worry as much about the new ones we're bringing in. And I've yet to see a sector that this doesn't work for. We do this for everyone. It's always a bit of a light bulb moment. I did this literally on Wednesday with a group of business owners, and they all went, yeah, we don't talk about any of these reasons in our marketing, of the reasons people are buying from them. So yeah, it's a bit of an eye opener, but we think it's a great exercise, and I really want to share it with the world. I think everybody would be doing better marketing if they followed that and implemented it.
I love that. I think that's absolutely fantastic, because you're
Thank you.
like you say, you're preempting objections. You're almost doing an audit on your service as well. How you're dealing with clients as well, so you can make sure that's. I really, really like that. That's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully, everybody's been making notes while you've been talking. Now, we also ask all our guests. We all ask all our guests, because as entrepreneurs, we've all got 100 brilliant business ideas rolling around in our heads all the time. And we talk about them in the pub, and we bore our friends senseless with them, and we never actually do them. So I'm asking every guest, what's your brilliant business idea that you're never going to do?
And I had to pick one because, I do think of all these ideas. And I had one, and then I decided I was going to talk about another. Mine is, I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now. Anytime I exercise, I'm recording it. If I didn't have my watch on and record it, it didn't happen, kind of thing,
Absolutely.
And it tells you how many calories you burn. Well, what I want to know is, have on my watch, if I eat anything, how many calories have I consumed? So I think that would be a great app, watch, whatever, but that someone should do. If we can track how many calories we're burning, to just be able to know, and it go like, bing, you've reached your daily limit.
You can't have any more. You can't have any more.
Yeah. Or then you can offset it. You go, better go out for a quick run before I have that pizza. So that would be my thing. I would be knocking at the door of whoever makes that to make sure I had one of those.
Fantastic. I love it. You'd also have to have an override button as well. So when you haven't finished your pizza.
Yeah, just silence for today.
yeah, just to switch off. Fantastic. I love it. Okay. One last question for you. So every guest gets to give another Leeds business a shout out. So who are you going to give a shout out to?
I am going to give it to Block Studios. They're a reformer Pilates studio in Chapel Allerton, which is in the area we're based as well. They just started kind of last year, this year. Very much reformer Pilates is very popular right now, and the girls there are amazing. It's been my first taste of reformer Pilates, and I've really enjoyed it. But they're very good in the local community and in small business. They've spoke to us so much. We did a corporate session with them. They just deserve for that to work out for them.
Okay, great stuff. And there will be a link to them in the show notes below. Claire, thank you very much for coming on. It's been fascinating.
Thank you very much for having me.
So that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you hit the follow button so every new episode gets sent straight to your phone. See you next week.